Backwoods Solar is America's oldest and most trusted solar retailer with nearly 50 years of experience. Head over to our website, backwoodsolar.com, to get a free copy of our planning guide. While you're there, check out our Learning Center with articles on setup, sizing, tax credits, and so much more helpful information, especially if you're just getting started with solar. There are also links provided in the description.
Today we're going to be talking about the Victron SmartSolar line of charge controllers, specifically the 150 volt and 250 volt solar charge controllers. Alright, starting out, we're going to be using a 150-85 here as an example, though the controllers across this line are pretty similar. They vary a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward. But as you can see here, these are a sealed style control. They don't have any cooling fans in them, so they can be mounted in most any orientation. Pretty simple here. 3 lights here on the left hand side, bulk absorption and float lights. We do have the option with a lot of these controls, depending on the model, to add in a optional display here, a plug-in display that allows for monitoring and control of the solar charge controller without using the app. They also do have a round, what they call the MPPT display, which can be plugged into the VE Direct port and used as a control and monitoring screen. Most folks, however, though, with these solar charge controllers are going to be using the Bluetooth and the VictronConnect app for monitoring and programming. So taking a look here just at the connections, you can see here at the bottom we have our battery positive and negative connection and our PV positive and negative connection. Just as a note, in the Victron SmartSolar Charge Controllers, battery negative and PV negative are bonded, so electrically those are the same, and you can wire for that accordingly. Taking a look here at the bottom of the control, you're going to see you have our connection terminals here for our PV and battery. Over here to the left, we have a 7-position dial, and this sets battery type. From the factory, this is typically going to be set in position 7, which is a gel AGM set point. But you may choose, if you, as an example, if you have lithium, to go ahead and put this to position number 7, and that will tell the control out of the box that this is running on a lithium battery bank. Over here to the right, we have our data connections and our VE CAN, so those can be used instead of the VE Direct port here. Either one of these communication protocols can be used on a Serbo or other GX device. Over here we also have our relay terminal block connection point, and then our remote on-off terminal connection point allows you to run a external toggle switch or on-off switch to control this the function of the controller, the solar controller, whether it's on or off. And that's as simple as just making or breaking the contact here, or is the loop there or the loop not there. So any switch or starter key type situation can work. Alright, here we are in VictronConnect for programming the 150 volt and 250 volt smart solar charge controllers from Victron. First thing you want to kind of take a look at is this overview screen. You might find that this is slightly different depending on the size of the screen or the device you're looking at. On a larger screen, you'll have it kind of laid out as you see here. On a smaller screen, you may just have the wattage and then history, status, and trends here across the top, where you have to kind of click to get these different values. But nonetheless, you can get all this stuff here just by clicking through if you're not seeing it all laid out in a kind of single display like this. Kind of going through what you'll have here for data points. Here at the top, of course, is live wattage, how much watts or how many watts are coming into the system currently now. Down below here, we're going to see historical information going back in time, day to day, both long-term as well as what happened today, yesterday, and so on. This detail tab here is particularly useful because you can see not only where you started and stopped the day in terms of battery voltage, you can also see your max solar voltage, max yield, and then total yield, along with these bar graphs representing how long you were in each charge cycle or charge stage. So you can see here bulk, absorb, float, the amount of time and the percent of time that you were in each of these charge stages here. Over here on the right, we kind of have live status of what's going on. Here, of course, we can see solar input voltage, solar input current. This is battery voltage, and then once the current is stepped down to battery voltage, this is current at battery voltage. This is charge current here going into the batteries. Below that, we have the state, bulk, absorb, float. This designates or shows whether our virtual load output is on or off, very rarely used. And then as well here, our dry contact relay, is that on or off. For programming, we're going to be coming up here to the right-hand corner to this gear icon and taking a look at these tabs. Specifically, most of our programming here is going to be accomplished in the battery tab. So first thing I like to do after coming into the battery tab is verifying system voltage. I think it's important, just as a matter of practice, to check this voltage. In some cases, if the control is booted up or turned on in the wrong way, in particular if solar is turned on before battery is fed into the control, it may default to a 12 volt system when the battery voltage is actually 24 or 48 volts. So it's always important first to double check this, or probably primarily to always turn batteries on first. Come into the app, update firmware, and just double check here that we have proper battery voltage before we initiate solar coming into the controller. So check battery voltage here. If it needs to be adjusted outside of where it is, it will prompt you to confirm this by entering the code that it designates here on the screen. So it's kind of a two-step check, just preventing you from accidentally changing this. Below that, we have max charge current. This can be adjusted if for some reason you wanted to limit charge current output of the controller. You can manually adjust that. Here you can turn off and on the solar charger. This is rarely used unless you're trying to troubleshoot or diagnose something. Usually it's best to just turn off the solar input breaker if we want to disable solar charging for whatever reason. So usually when I'm coming in here, first checking battery voltage, and then immediately here I'm going to come to this battery preset tab. From the factory, you're going to be seeing this set to the rotary switch in position number 2 for gel AGM. Normally what I'm going to do here is just hit this drop down, and I'm going to do select preset, and then find the appropriate battery chemistry here that corresponds. If you had already set your rotary position dial to 7 or some other, you may see this something else. But the software always will overwrite whatever that physical dial is. But it's still good to set that physical dial to the appropriate battery chemistry, just in case for some reason the controller wakes up with amnesia and forgets what your set points were. It will at least default to the rotary switch. So in this case, we're going to assume here we're going to do some lithium batteries, so we're going to select our smart lithium option. And once we do that, you'll see that a lot of these set points here are going to be pre-adjusted to match what we want for lithium. So we're disabling equalization, temperature compensation, and so on here. So past this point, really setting the battery preset, chemistry preset, Most everything else we need to do is just fine tune our bulk absorption voltage and our float voltage, turn on or adjust temperature compensation, which you wouldn't do with a lithium. And then with a lithium in particular, we may decide to set a low temperature charge protection. If we want to have the controller, the solar charge controller, refuse the charge if it detects below a certain temperature threshold for the protection of the battery. But really, it's usually just as easy as setting battery chemistry and then fine-tuning our bulk and our absorption and bulk voltage and our flow voltage here. Backing out of there, we can go into some of these other settings, kind of more rarely used. Have our load output. This is kind of the function of the digital output or the function of the relay here. I won't go into too much detail here because there's quite a bit that you can do, but that's kind of where you would adjust your load output. Same here on the relay. This is the behavior of the dry contact relay. You're defining what the kind of parameters the relay is going to be looking for, what values it's going to be looking for, listening for, and then you can fine-tune these as needed. Street light here, this allows the controller to use the solar panels essentially as a photo detector. So if we wanted to trigger the relay or the digital outputs for photo detection, dusk dawn detection, things like that, that's where we can enable the ability for the controller to recognize low light, and it basically does that looking at solar panel voltage as a cross-reference or as a correlation to how bright it is outside. Beyond that, beyond our street light, again, we have our transmit port function and our receive port function. These are digital in, digital outs for a variety of reasons. I won't go too much into those. And then at the bottom here, we have our VE Smart Networking tab, which allows our solar charge controller, in this case, to be wirelessly networked with other Victron smart devices, Bluetooth devices, and share and exchange data wirelessly. Kind of good for smaller, medium systems. If you have this communicating with a Serbo or some other GX device, that's not something that would probably be utilized, but can have some value if you have a RV or some other smaller systems.